Well, welcome. Thanks for joining me this morning. This is episode 16 of the Sell More Printing webinar. This webinar is aimed at helping you grow your print business using today's best marketing tactics. I'm Rachel Neese. I'm the marketing director here at Marketing Ideas for Printers. And in this episode, we're going to cover one of the most important aspects of marketing and probably really in business in general, and that is trust. Trust in marketing. What your print buyers want you to know. Now, I wanted to cover this topic today because the reality is that I can talk till I'm blue in the face about marketing plans, content strategies, SEO, and all the rest. But if you never accomplish trust with your prospect or your print buyers, you're going to end up, spinning your wheels, spending your money, and probably getting nowhere. And that's not what I want for you. I want to help you sell more printing, and so that's what we're going to look at today. Now, I shouldn't really have to make a list of why trust is important in business, but I do want to point out a few reasons why building trust should be at the heart of your marketing and your brand. The first is this: it's trust and not money that's the currency of business and life. Trust is the necessary thing that needs to exist to draw your print buyers from that point of consideration to ultimately then doing business with you. Your mission is to usher those print buyers to that point of trust, to earn their trust so that there's no hesitation in placing an order with you. We're going to talk about how to execute that mission in a little bit. But first, I want to keep going on this. Secondly, trust is the tipping point that catapults your brand to the top. When a print buyer is debating between two printers, ultimately it's going to be who they trust more that's going to win out. In real life, that looks something like this. So maybe they trust that printer B will deliver more value for the price. Or another scenario, they trust that printer A is going to be better at providing a quality product with hassle-free service and ordering. In this case, even though, maybe printer A costs more, for example, printer B hasn't proven themselves reliable yet and maybe has damaged trust in the past, so that's why they stick with printer A. Lastly, it could be that printer B wins out simply because of a proven track record of success and established trust. This last point here makes me think of my doctor. I drive just about an hour to see my doctor. And are there doctors that are, more close? Absolutely there are, but there isn't another doctor that I trust as much and that has that proven track record of success with me. So that's why my doctor wins out. That's kind of what I wanted to say there. The last point I want to make here is this: that trust equals protecting the brand. To establish trust, it means you need to protect your brand at all costs. Mark Schaefer, he's the author of Marketing Rebellion. I've talked about him in a previous webinar about humanizing your brand, but he conveys this point of protecting the brand brilliantly in a recent blog post and also in his book. I'm just going to read a short portion of that. This is written from Mark's perspective, and he says, "One day I had the bright idea of reselling our scrap into a secondary market. Sometimes the plant workers made a mistake. Instead of remelting it or throwing it away, why not sell it to somebody who had less demanding quality requirements?" Jim, who was the marketing manager at the time, was patient with me, but firm. "No," he said, "we can never do that. We don't sell scrap. We sell the best product in our business. If the manufacturing folks realize we can sell our scrap, then over time they'll become sloppy. And when they're sloppy, eventually that will impact our customer and their satisfaction." You have a bright idea, but marketing is the department that must protect the brand and our customers at all costs. Everything we do has to be aimed at one goal: customer satisfaction, even if it costs us money in the short run. Jim was not swayed by a trend or a short-term opportunity to make some cash. Just because he could do something that was profitable didn't mean he would do it if it meant hurting our customer. He made sure that everything we did and everything we didn't do was consistent with our brand promise. I think this is an important lesson for today. Marketing is stuck in many ways today because we're obsessed with technology instead of being obsessed with customer needs. The key thing to remember here is trust is easily built when you obsess over your print buyer's needs and satisfaction. Just think about that for a minute from a print buyer's perspective. How would it feel, and what do you think the results would be for your print buyers if their printer obsessed over their needs and fought for their satisfaction like that? My guess is it would just be staggering. So the question is then, how do we get there? How do we build that trust with people that we might not ever see face to face if they're ordering their printing online from you? And how can the little things in our marketing help establish a brand that print buyers can trust? That's what we're going to look at next with how to boost trust with your marketing. Now, I'm going to click through these rather quickly and be brief simply because of time, but this should give you at least a platform to launch from. Also, some of these tips are going to be a little more broad, covering more concepts, and others will be a little more specific things that you can do. The first one is this: be transparent. Transparency means being honest, and another way to put it is being transparent is simply being accessible or making something accessible. There has been a shift in marketing, especially as content marketing has gained traction, and that is simply that consumers expect to find the answers to their questions at their fingertips, to find it on your website without having to necessarily contact you. If they have to talk to a salesperson to find the answers to their questions, it starts to create that thinking that your company is trying to hide something. Now, I know that's not the case, but you need to be aware of that line of thinking of your print buyers because they're used to simply having answers right at their fingertips instantly. So learn to be transparent, get things out in the open. Here are some quick thoughts on this one. The first is this: show your pricing. I know we've talked about this before and some of you disagree with me, and that's okay. I just want to walk you through my reasoning for this. Don't hide your pricing behind a phone call. If a print buyer can't find the answer to their question, it creates that doubt that you're trying to hide your too expensive prices. And so you need to work to be transparent in this area. Even forgetting this whole being transparent and hiding and all this, just for simplicity, I'll give you an example here. We're in the process of creating holiday cards, right, to send out to our customers. And I had X amount of a budget. And so I wanted to know, okay, well, how much is just the printing of this going to be? Well, I have access to lots of printers. I know lots of different printers' websites. So I wanted to pop on and see how much it would cost for just the printing of these holiday cards. Well, if I got to a printer that didn't have any pricing on their website, they couldn't answer my question. So I popped over to a different printer who could answer my question. Now, that might not determine if I were to order from that printer or not, but just follow that line of thinking through that if I continue to come back to this one printer's website and I continually get my questions answered, there's a high likelihood that that's where I will end up ordering my printing from, simply because I know I can get my questions answered there. The second one I want to point out about being transparent is to invite them into your world. Transparency means showing your print buyers a part of your world. What does the back of your shop look like? Who are the people working on my print job right now? Using video and social media is a great way to be transparent in this way. So, show your print buyers that your company consists of a group of actual human beings who have lives and families and are working hard every day just like them. Okay, that's huge, and building trust that they have that relatability to you, that they are just like you. A word of caution with this one: remember that professionalism here, inviting them into your world doesn't mean that you're shooting videos, in your pajamas from your sofa. So it's all about protecting your brand and your image, but inviting them in. So remember that professionalism there, obviously. But the third one here is to address questions openly. Don't shy away from those tough questions. Answer them honestly, but in your own way. An example of this in the printing industry might be something like, if you're constantly fighting the whole, paper is killing trees and, destroying our forests argument, Well, instead of just shying away from it and trying to avoid it, address that question head on with content. Do a video or a blog piece or something like that that shows how the printing industry is actually helping to plant more trees and can, answer that question just openly without shying away from it. A good example of this is you might be familiar with the claims against McDonald's and that their pink slime and how they make the food. Well, instead of, hiding behind this or trying to avoid this question, McDonald's just addressed it openly by creating a video showing how they actually create the food without pink slime. So you get the idea there, but transparency not only gets your brand attention, but it helps to build that trust as well. The next one is this: don't praise yourself, let others do it for you. This little nugget of advice comes right out of the Bible, Proverbs 27:2. And whether you're a Christ follower or not, it's just some good, sound advice. Marketing your print company requires social proof. It requires that help of other previous or current print buyers advocating for you on your behalf. So here's how you can do this. First, start working on these three things, case studies, testimonials, and online reviews. Start sending surveys, like with every order. You can do follow-up calls to ask if everything went well with their print order. Just thinking about this, my trust level would definitely increase if a print company just showed the care and concern to ask how my print campaign went. Just think of it like a waiter waiting on a couple at a restaurant where they come back. Is everything okay? Was your meal, did it meet your standards? That kind of a thing. How did that print campaign go? Just reaching out and showing that extra care and concern and empathy will really help to build trust and get them coming back. Another thing to keep in mind here is, advertise where and how they can place their review. I see this all the time when I get my hair cut. There's always something taped to the mirror that says something like, the greatest compliment you can give me is a referral. Well, could you add this same line to your email signature or your invoices? Maybe something like, love the way your print job turned out. Share your enthusiasm with others by leaving us a review at, and then make it super simple for them to pop online and leave that review for you. Lastly, when it comes to reviews here, put your reviews to work for you in your marketing. Collected reviews mean nothing, right, unless you use them and put them to work for you. So, put them on your website with a, here's what our customers are saying. You could do that as a custom slider. You could do that as a call out box or a custom page, but get them out there so that your print buyers can see what other customers are saying. You could also add one or two of those testimonials to your emails or other correspondence. And then lastly, don't forget to give them to your sales team. Having a review like arsenal that your sales team can glean from is a huge advantage to them. These work best when you categorize your reviews by pain points. So for example, you might have a time saving category or a cost savings category. And then let's say you're trying to market your online design tool or your private portals to a business and their biggest hangup is the time involved. Well, then you can pop over to your review bank and find that review from Jim that talked about the time savings he enjoyed, after getting all of his franchises using private portals. But having that information there for your sales team to draw from is a huge benefit, not only to your sales team and the ease of selling, but to the print buyer, that they have that social proof they can glean from and get their questions answered. One final note here that I wanted to mention is that if you're a subscriber to the white papers for Marketing Ideas for Printers, the next white paper, the one that we're currently working on now, it'll be coming out in January, but it's all about reviews and testimonials and how to make them work for you or work for your print buyer. And in this case, for your print buyer, it highlights how they can get their case studies printed with you and those types of things. But it's also a great tool for you. There's some great takeaways in there for you as well. So keep an eye out for that. The next tip I wanted to talk about in building trust with your marketing is kind of a unique one. You might not have thought of this, but your website design, how you can actually build trust through your website design. Here's what I mean. If you have good looking design, you're more likely to be seen as competent and trustworthy. It shows that you know what looks good, that you took the time to invest in it and make it that way. Here's an example. This website, Printworks and Company, this website, it not only looks great, but it's clear and concise with easy options for me to take the next step. Across the bottom there, you've got 3 call to action buttons. Across the top, easy navigation. It's just easy to navigate and it's nice to look at. But beyond that, okay, how it helps build trust, there are several things, several great things about this company you can learn just from this one image. And here's a few. The first is that I would be important to them, okay, because they put people first. It's right there, big blue bold letters. Secondly, I can have peace of mind ordering from them because why? They operate with integrity. They're going to do the right thing. That really helps boost my trust as an online print buyer. And then lastly there over on the right, it says we are more than just print. They do more than just printing. What that tells me is that they are an expert in their field and that they can help me with my actual overall marketing, not just my print job. That's huge and really helps to establish that trust. Now, you might think that these things are subtle, but they do make a difference, and I'll prove it. We're going to go the other way this time. Okay, look at this website. This company sells X-ray and radiology equipment. Now, does the design of this website instill the trust and confidence you would need to spend a large amount of money with them? For me, no, there's some real question marks that, come up for me. Does it make you question the quality of their products? Yeah, it kind of does, simply from their website design. This is why good website design builds trust and shows competence. And I should mention, this isn't limited to website. This is also your direct mail pieces, your blogs, your social media, the overall branding and image of your company. Along this same idea, here's another quick trust builder in your marketing that you can do. And that is this: use branded email addresses. So here's what I mean by a branded email address. So which one of these email addresses makes you trust the printer more? Would it be joe@acmeprintingusa.com or joe9351@gmail.com? Okay. It's important to look at every touch point through the lens of, does this build trust with my print buyer or does this erode trust? Now, my guess is that most of you are using a branded email address, and this is kind of like a duh, I get it, Rachel. But think of it this way: if you're working late at night or you decide to send emails from your home email, keep this in mind, okay? Every touch point is either going to help the trust with the print buyer or it's going to erode it. So keep those things in mind. The next one I want to talk about is a secure sockets layer or an SSL certificate. Make sure your website is using an SSL certificate or secure sockets layer. This provides the layer of security expected by your print buyers. Now, this is going to sound a little geeky for a second here, but just hang with me. Having an SSL certificate on your website, it means that you have that private communication between your customer and your website. And all it is it's just a small data file that's installed on your web server, and it activates that padlock that you see in the URL bar and the HTTPS protocol that your users are looking for. So ultimately it just authenticates the identity of your website and then encrypts the data that's being transferred. Now, to say this in a really simple way to back this down, by adding an SSL certificate, you're simply adding that S, which means secure. So HTTPS, it's adding that S, which means secure. Beyond that, though, an SSL certificate is more about what it takes away. It takes away the scary warnings. So here's what a website would look like without an SSL certificate. Now, I blacked out the URL of this to protect the identity of this printer, but this is what your print buyer would see. Your connection to this site is not secure. You should not enter any sensitive information on this site, for example, passwords or credit cards, because it could be stolen by attackers. Yikes. In other words, this yells to your print buyer, don't order printing online from them. They can't be trusted. Okay? That's a huge deal. This is why that is not what you want, and why adding an SSL certificate adds that credibility and it helps to build trust. And plus, it's just good business that you would protect the data between you and your print buyer. This is one that we believe in so much that we actually supply SSL certificates with all of our websites if you were to choose to purchase a website through us. Those SSL certificates are a big deal. Next one, provide assurances when you want to build trust. What I mean by this, there are several little things you can do to help provide trust assurances when your print buyers are working with you. Here are just a few of them. The first one here is email signups. So when you have a print buyer come to your website and they're looking at signing up for your newsletter, it's always scary to give away your information, right? What's the number one fear of email? Spam, right? Well, you can help to provide assurance by just adding a simple little sentence or two that says, you know, we hate spam too and promise not to spam you. Okay, that helps address their concern and provide assurance. You could also tell them what to expect. You know, we promise to only email you, you know, once a week or twice a week or whatever it is, so that they kind of know that and know they don't need to be afraid to sign up. Along those same lines, account registration. Maybe your print buyers are afraid to create an account. Well, remind them of the benefits of signing up, why it's a good thing. If you are a subscriber for Marketing Ideas for Printers, you're going to see an update regarding this in the near future, just to kind of help ease that fear and provide that assurance that they need. Another one here is to affirm their choice. What I mean by this is, say they fill out a contact form on your website. You know, what you want to do is affirm their choice by saying something like, thanks for choosing Acme Printing, you know, you've made the smart choice, or you're in good hands. Another thing you can do here is to not be vague. Use actual data and numbers. For example, instead of saying, you know, we're the best, because no company never says, you know, that they're not the best. Of course you're the best. But instead of being vague like that, provide a solid number. For example, I'm just going to throw out a random number here, but, you know, over 500 customers satisfied each week, or something like that, or over 1,000 print orders created every day. I don't know what the numbers are for you, but you get the idea, where you can actually use a number that provides that concrete evidence instead of being vague and just, oh, we're so great. Last one here is order communication. Keep your print buyers updated with the status of their order. So, you know, maybe this is through an email, your order is now in production, or your order is now being shipped. Remember, when your print buyers place an order online, they don't get the benefit of seeing you or gauging you face to face to see if you're trustworthy. So you need to provide these assurances before, during, and after print production. By reaching out and keeping in that constant communication with them. Almost like you need a really cool MIS system to help you with that. Wink, wink. Anyway, the next one here is to build trust with value-focused content. Remember earlier that we talked about Proverbs 27:2 about not praising yourself? Well, the same idea applies to your content as well. You know, unlike marketing content of the past, that, you know, tended to come from a sales or promotional standpoint, today's content needs to be authentic and educational to win the trust of your audience. And here's what that means. It means that the focus of your content should be entirely on your customer and not on selling your products or services. You're not setting out to create content that talks about you and these latest and greatest promotions. Instead, it's taking that place of empathy to find out, man, what are my print buyers struggling with? How can I help them? What kind of content would be beneficial to them that they could see us as a resource and we could really be helpful to them. When you structure your content like this in that educational way, it's incredibly effective at building brand trust, just through your marketing like that. And here's some proof. I'm just going to show you some statistics about this, but 65% of consumers feel a brand is trustworthy immediately after reading a piece of educational content from that brand. Here's another one. A week after reading a piece of educational content from a brand, 74.49% of consumers identified the brand as positive, an 8% increase since initially reading the content. I got one more. 73, this is again a week after reading a piece of educational content, 73.3% of consumers identified the brand as trustworthy, a 9% increase since initially reading the content. This isn't rocket science. It's kind of like when you think about, the holidays are coming up, right? When you go and you sit around the table, there's always that one guy, right, that always talks about himself. It's a lot harder to relate to that person because you can't have an actual conversation or have a dialogue back and forth. Instead, he just wants to talk about himself, right? And it's the same here when you're talking about marketing. You're going to create the best connection and build that trust and credibility if you stop talking about yourself and instead talk about, things that can help your print buyer, that type of a thing. Lastly, once you understand that concept of value-based communication, value-based content, you want to communicate that value across multiple channels. You need to meet your print buyers where they're at. And some of them are going to be, online through blogs or through social media. Some of them are going to be through direct mail. Another thing to remember is that rule of 7. Prospects need to see your brand or hear your message at least 7 times before they take action and buy from you. So make sure you're spreading that value-based content out across multiple channels. It means you need to ensure you're keeping your name and brand in front of them through content using email, social media, direct mail, blogging, etc. Coming here to the end, but I just wanted to make note with that value-based content. Of course, if you need help with this, that's what we're here for. Our goal is to help you sell more printing, and a big part of that is through that value-based content. That's all I had for today. Thanks for joining us for tips to help you sell more printing. Our next webinar will be Wednesday, December 11th, 2019 at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you have questions or comments regarding this episode, what we talked about, or you have future topic requests, things you would like to go over or have covered in future webinars, just reach out to me. You can contact us at 701-241-9204, or you can email me directly at rachel.neese@mi4p.com. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope to see you back here in December.